It's all about just finding out what you can afford. There is someone out there that would be willing to build in your price range. I think that's the competitive side of what the Valley's offering. There's so many people out there that can work with you. Let's just say 10 years down the line, industry dries up. If there's nobody moving here, the economy's depressed already. I'd rather deal with it now. This is where we live now. We live in the here and now. We don't live in 30 years from now. But the decisions we make today will affect us in 30 years.
Hi, and thank you for joining us on this episode of the Rio Grande Valley Business Journal podcast. I'm Naxi Lopez-Puente. Today, we'll be discussing the state of construction here in the Rio Grande Valley. Joining us today is Johnny Vasquez. He is the Executive Officer for the Rio Grande Valley Builders Association.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Johnny. There's a lot of Rio Grande Valley.
There is.
In that
happy
sentence.
to be here too. We've been here for almost 60 years. So not myself, but the association has been around for a while. So thank you for having us.
Of course. So tell us about this association. Who do you represent?
So I'm pleased to represent over 100 members. We are compiled of builders, developers, title companies, mortgage companies, banks, realtors, everything that encompasses the home building industry. Like I said, we've been around for almost 60 years, and you can imagine a lot of work's been done to move the building industry forward. And as an association, that really helps our industry's voice amplified throughout the region and throughout the country as well. So I'm fortunate enough to be a part of this association. I started about 20 plus years ago as a member.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was a very young man at the time, and I got a chance to see the inner workings of the association and also what goes into construction, development. And so fast forward 20 years, I'm now here as the executive officer and proudly supporting our builders in the building industry as a whole. So I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's dig in. What is the state of construction here in the Rio Grande Valley? I know we have a lot to cover. I mean, everything from immigration rates to the cost of goods to tariffs to high inventory.
Sure.
So I guess, how would you describe the state of the industry when it comes to residential homes? And first, we should say that your association represents two counties, right? Hidalgo and Starr County.
Hidalgo and Starr County, yeah, most definitely. So there's a lot of mixed reviews throughout the building community. You do also have the realtor's perspective. Right now, with all of the action that's going on, we understand that construction is just kind of at a slowdown right now. Mm-hmm. I think that hasn't been a surprise for people that have been following the news, national, local, and state. And, unfortunately, there's not a lot that can be done at this time. We are working through the proper channels with our representatives to really push some legislation forward that's going to be a permanent solution for the situation here. But, to answer your question, construction is there. There's still contracts being signed. There's still people moving to the Valley, which is great. Several people moving to Texas, hundreds of people moving to Texas on the daily. And, the Rio Grande Valley is still primed. I mean, there's a lot of room to grow. There is a tremendous amount of resources here. There is plenty of land, like I said. Mm-hmm. And so we're not seeing a specific slowdown if we're thinking long term. Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that a lot of people are moving to the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah.
We actually just published an article today saying that both the Brownsville and McAllen Metro were on U-Haul's radar. That U-Haul compiles the data of people that are moving to certain areas, and both metros are at the top of their list.
Yes.
Maybe not number one, but among the nation's highest places where people are moving to. So is that something that you are
exactly
seeing?
Right. We heard that earlier this year. We were at an update in D.C. U-Haul data is exactly right. How do you track people moving across the country? People coming from the west, the left, the right, wherever. They're coming to Texas. Texas is a great state to live in. We have a lot to offer, especially here in the Rio Grande Valley. We have ports of entry. We have a ship channel. We have SpaceX. We can get anywhere in the universe. Well, hopefully someday, but we can get anywhere from this area to anywhere in the world.
Sure.
And so the valley has really grown. I'm born and raised here. I've watched it grow. I've watched the expressway expand many times over. So we see the growth. And unfortunately, there is this time in the construction history, just in the last 20 years, there's been a few slowdowns for different reasons. And this one's particular, where we have construction slowdown because of the workforce, because of some of the legislation that hasn't been passed, in my opinion.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the inventory. Right now, my understanding is that there are more homes out there that are already built than buyers. Is that,
that's a really good question. So there is inventory. There's also new construction inventory that's out there.
It's a buyer's market, right?
It's a buyer's market right now. I think with rates that have dropped or have kind of stabilized, there was some uncertainty going into the end of the year. And now that the rates have kind of stabilized, I think you see a resurgence of people that are really just going to make that jump. You know, we, as a home builders association, well, that's what we do. We promote home building. We want builders to build homes. We want people to live in homes. And like I mentioned to you before, you know, it's important that people have a place to live, because we want people to invest here in the valley, right? So you buy a home here, you're going to probably buy cars here. You're definitely going to buy food here, right?
Sure.
So, you know, the more starts that we have, the more rooftops that we have, the more people that can invest in this community, and that's what we want. So, yeah.
Now, let's talk about affordability, right?
Okay.
Because, you know, being able to afford a home, especially for people in my generation, right?
Yeah.
The older millennials, it's getting really difficult, you know, if you don't have a good little nest egg already saved up.
Yeah.
Talk to us about affordability in the Rio Grande Valley, because before, you know, we were seeing a lot of homes under the $200,000 mark, right?
Yeah.
That's no longer the case.
Yeah.
And still, having said that, you know, compared to national averages, compared to even the rest of the state in Austin, right, we're still affordable when you compare us to that market. But, you know, cost of living and salary and wages, all of that play a part.
Yeah,
so talk to me about
you hit it
that.
right on the head. There it is. You know, affordability. A lot of things that impact that right now are tariffs. We know that the cost of goods are going up depending on, you know, what you put in the home, but it could be anywhere from 20 to 30% on certain items. One of the things that we see also is regulation. Now, that's kind of a touchy subject, because you're talking about you know, making a home that's going to be suitable for someone to live in there for many years.
Sure.
And you want to make it safe, and you want to make it comfortable. And so sometimes regulations will hurt the building industry. You know, I'll give you an example. There's a possible code that's coming that is going to require dimmers in every single room of the home.
At the state level, or at what level? Local?
It would be adopted by the state and then eventually through the cities.
Okay.
But that could potentially add several thousands of dollars to the price of the home. Now, every time you raise the price of the home $1,000, you price out thousands of people. So there's only so much home you can afford. So if most of that is regulation, or most of that is because of regulation, that could be a problem also. But on top of that, then you have the tariffs. If you're increasing prices on, you know, lumber or windows or whatever is being imported, that's going to affect the price. Now, to your point, you did mention, and I'll make this real quick, $200,000. There is homes here in the valley that you can find for $200,000, most definitely. You're going to have to do some searching, some digging. There may be even some builders out there that build in that price range. It's all about just finding out what you can afford. Right, get pre-qualified. There is someone out there that would be willing to build in your price range. I think that's the competitive side of what the Valley's offering. There's so many people out there that can work with you. So I'm very, very happy to hear about that.
We heard today, too, that the price of land has gone up significantly since COVID. Is that a trend that you agree with? And why, you know, why would COVID have that effect on the price of land?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything trends up. When you talk about land, the more that the valley, the faster it grows, the more infrastructure that's needed across the region. So you're going to have pricing. All of that, again, goes back to regulation. how much people don't want to get flooded out either, right? How much drainage do you need in a community?
True.
So a lot of that goes into the expansion. It's the fact that we have to pay more to expand more, and it doesn't seem, we can't go backwards and say, well, we want prices from the 1990s or 2000s. A lot of new technology has come out, things that have made life easier, but of course it's going to cost, right? So we see pricing going up. Also, when you have industry moving into the area, I mean, you see what happened in Austin. As soon as you have big tech come in, I mean, prices just go through the roof. So we've had some of that, I should say. Even specifically, if you look into the Cameron County and in that region, you have companies that come in and immediately start to develop, and so that drives up the prices right away. So, we're tracking on that. Unfortunately, it's just part of if you want to live in that place, you're going to have to pay the price of whatever the cost is. So,
Is it harder now for builders to make a profit?
Yeah, that's a good question. Harder? Well, right now, I would say yes. If there's no construction, there's no profit, right?
Yeah.
But if things are being priced correctly, if suppliers are working with the builders, and this is a team effort, I think this is why an association is so powerful, because our members can talk to each other and voice their needs, voice their concerns, and not be in a silo. Right? You can be upset about construction prices or material prices all by yourself, but if you have no one to share that with, if you have no one to kind of sound that off and no real solutions, then you're kind of just talking to yourself, and you're just in a corner by yourself. So we encourage our builder members and our associate members to have those tough conversations, and we really encourage that, because eventually, like anything else, things kind of stave off and prices will get back to normal, or the new normal, like they say.
Sure.
And that's what we want. We want to encourage people to not give up on home ownership. We want them to continue to strive to be a homeowner. We don't want forever renters, right? Nothing wrong with renting.
Right.
But if you have to rent, great. If you're going to be here for a season, great. But if you're going to set down your roots, you're going to start a family, you're going to invest in a business, you definitely want to have a piece of property to call your own.
Sure. And we heard, we had our journalist today at the Economic Outlook for the Builder Association that focuses on Cameron and I believe Willacy. And so they said today that there's so much inventory out there that some of the builders have taken their subdivisions that were supposed to be sold as, homes, and are starting to turn them into rentals. Is that something that we're seeing here in Hidalgo as well? Yeah,
we're seeing that also. I mean, rentals are going to be needed. Let's just be honest. So the more people that come and they need quick housing, rental is the way to go. There's several fourplexes or multiplexes or multifamily units that are out there on the ground right now for investors to buy, and for people to rent. So absolutely, it's a necessity. We need it. Now, as far as how much we need, the market has to determine that. If we are going to be, talking about bringing certain tech companies into the area, people are going to move right away, or not move right away. Their whole family, maybe they need a rent for a few months or for a year.
Sure.
So it's a necessity. I don't think that that's an issue, and that's a way. Again, this is America, right? You can pivot. If your product is not selling, rent it. If it's not renting and you want to sell it, so that's the freedom that they have, and I applaud them for that. That's great.
So circling back to the association and some of those tough conversations that must be had. What are some of those tough conversations that? Give me 3 of the top topics that you guys are really focused on right now.
Well, since last June, we've been focused on the ICE situation, the ICE raids. It has escalated, and it's gotten to a point where you do see the stress on the construction community just over the last few months. Usually during the end of the year, there is a slowdown in construction, and rightly, there's people that take time off and whatnot. But since last summer, it's just been hot. And so we have been working with our representatives. I shared with you in a previous conversation that we actually were in D.C. the week that the ICE raid started. Not by no coincidence, we have an annual fly-in that we do with the National Association of Home Builders, which we're part of the federation.
Sure.
We flew in, and unfortunately, it wasn't a big topic on the national level because it just started, and only a few regions were being affected. Our region, Texas, Louisiana, and I believe Arizona. So we had an opportunity to be right there as it happened to talk with our representatives. We had a chance to talk with Representative Gonzalez, Representative De La Cruz, and Representative Cuellar. And their staffs were very friendly. They were very helpful. They were open. They opened their doors to us. And we shared with them right away. That was the first thing that we talked about is, hey, what can be done for immigration reform right off the bat. There had been legislation proposed, the Dignity Act, that we were exploring. Thankfully, the National Association of Home Builders has endorsed it and said, hey, you know what, this is a really good plan or a program moving forward to help. But, we're looking for something more a quicker response.
Right, because passing immigration
that's gonna
reform,
take some time,
I think we've been talking about this for decades. You and I spoke about it, right?
Yes.
The last real reform, I guess, is aside from like the Dreamers, right, which I don't know if you could call that reform, but was during the Reagan administration.
It's been a while.
Which,
I was 5 years old the last time there was a comprehensive immigration reform, and so we're excited to support it along with the National Association of Home Builders. They're supporting the Dignity Act. We applaud Representative De La Cruz, who just recently signed on. We had been sharing with her office all of the details on the Dignity Act, and thankfully she has signed on to that.
For those that don't know what the Dignity Act, how would you, I know it has a lot of ins and outs.
There's a lot to it.
But how would it affect or benefit the construction industry?
Sure. No, good question. So, the Dignity Act, it's actually been around for a few years, but it was reintroduced by Representative Salazar from Florida, and also a bipartisan, by the way, so Republican and Democrat, I believe Veronica Escobar from El Paso, both came together to put together this and introduce this bill. It is a very comprehensive immigration reform package. How it would it help the construction industry? It would give a legal work status, a legal work permit for construction and other industries as well. But that would be the immediate injection. It would be a way for people to be here legally and avoid all of the problems that we're having right now where we're short on workers.
And, for a long time, the narrative was, immigrants are taking Americans' jobs.
Yeah.
And now with all of these immigration raids, how do you see that issue?
Yeah, I mean, that's... taking American jobs, that's always been in the world
rhetoric.
It's in the rhetoric. You get both sides, but they don't want to do the jobs. No, they do want the jobs. Well, great. The idea is the jobs are there. They need to be filled. Someone needs to do them. If it's Americans, great. If it's immigrants, great. With us, with the association, we're for the rule of law. We want legal immigration. We want legal pathways for people to come here and contribute to the valley, to the region, and become, a part of the experience. How do we go from, filling all of those, if those workforce development programs are not in place? We also support workforce development programs, but also that takes time, right? Things don't just happen. When I say things, I mean, someone that's going into the trades is not going to just come right out of the trades and know exactly what to do. There'll be some learning curve. There'll be some training, some education that needs to be done. Even though we encourage the high schools, we've been doing scholarships with some of the high schools here in Edinburgh, as a matter of fact. They have a really great program. They're working with students right out of high school to do all kinds of trades.
And do people want to go into construction?
Absolutely.
It's a really difficult job.
And there's a lot of money to be made in the trades.
Okay.
I just talked to a gentleman a couple of days ago who's in the electric space, and he just looks at me. He says, "There's so much money to be made in electric." And if people would just take that step, and anybody, right, men and women, young ladies that are in the construction field, whoever wants to take those jobs are there. And that's a business, right? You're talking about building a business that is always going to be needed. We're always going to need electric. We're always going to need mechanical, plumbing. I mean, I know I want that. You know, I'm sure everybody here wants that to be, all of that to work in their home. So, yeah, we're supporting workforce development. We want immigration reform. The hard part is that you got to get Congress to act. And so if Congress doesn't act, then we're just, again, 40 years from now, we'll be having this conversation when we're in our 80s and 90s, right? And saying, hey, you remember back 2025? We don't want that. We want Congress to act now. This bill here, the Dignity Act, which is there, ready to be discussed, debated. It has a lot of good things, you know, even border security is in there for those that are concerned with the border. Technologies to be brought in, asylum seekers to process people quicker. It even has in there a workforce development program for Americans. Okay. Which means every person that comes through, that goes through this program, is one program for Americans. So it's an opportunity for even to develop the workforce here in America, not just the immigrants. Sure. On top of that, there is a lot of different items that are expressed in there, but the focus of the Dignity Act is to help the already overburdened and underserved construction industry. I mean, also the hospitality industry, also farmers too. So we want food on the table. We want places. It wouldn't just be for
it's
not just for construction, right? So, although we would benefit. We really, really want the Dignity Act to pass. And if you can call your representative out there, I'll look at this camera right here and I'll say, call your representative. You know, make that call. Let them know that you want to support the Dignity Act. And I think this is an opportunity that we can get our association involved and have them also promote it.
Got it. And so, you know, there are a lot of critics out there that say, well, you know, if these immigration raids are affecting the industry in South Texas, it's, you know, it's the builder's fault or the subcontractor's fault for hiring people that don't have a legal status. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, no, that's definitely something we've thought about. You know, those comments come up, those questions come up. Our builders are you know, they want the best for the community, and they're helping to grow the community by building homes. And they have subcontractors. They also have skin in the game here in the community. The National Association of Home Builders released a notice for our members. You know, we need to be e-verifying people. Now, that home builders and our members, they do that. And we encourage them, strongly encourage them. Now, the subcontractors, they're also encouraged to do that, but some of those are not our members, right? So we can impose or make people do something that they don't want to do. But through the Dignity Act, this is a mandatory thing. E-Verify would be mandatory for companies to do that, to verify employment.
So let's talk about the raids, right? You really saw it kind of kick off in June, right, is my understanding.
Right, last June.
What has been the ebb and flow? Has it been, you know, at the same intensity? Has it slowed down? Talk to us about the frequency. What are you hearing, you know, you that have your ear to the ground with these builders? Help us paint a picture to our audience, right? Our readers, our viewers. What's happening in the Valley when it comes to ICE raids and construction? Because we have seen the videos.
Yeah, the videos are out there. The stories are out there. The news is out there. We see what's happening. Excuse me. In terms of, you know, the intensity, I couldn't tell you exactly how many are happening every single day. I was on the ICE website. I know there's been several hundreds of raids and several thousands of people that have been arrested.
Here in the Valley?
Here in the Valley. Actually, I read that it was 1/5 of the number that was on there. I can't remember specifically, but there was quite a bit that's just here in the Valley, 1/5 of it being reported. So despite the intensity, despite the number of arrests, the issue's there. We need relief. The builders have put out a call to their members of Congress. We've gone through the proper channels, and so now we're waiting. We're waiting for something to happen either through the administration, through the president's desk, which we don't really want to support any executive orders because those are just temporary. We want a permanent solution that will help the home builders in this region and across the state and across the country.
And so when we're talking about the Trump administration, we had DHS Secretary Kristi Noem here just yesterday, yep. And one of our journalists asked her, about the economic impact of these immigration raids on our economy, and pretty much was dismissed. It was like, that's not happening type of thing. How do we reach them? How do we?
I can't speak for the secretary. I'm glad she was here to be representing our Department of Homeland Security.
And she spoke to farmers, but not necessarily anybody on the construction industry.
That. We definitely need farmers to have workers. But like I said, we put out the call through the proper channels. DHS is just doing their job. And like I said before, we're for the rule of law. We want people to come here and experience the American dream. Mm-hmm. What we're up against is something that is going to run its course. And I prepared our membership recently to say, hey, look, there's no end in sight. The administration has 3 more years. President Trump has been very clear that if he's going to do something, it's going to get done. And so we're not shying away from that. We're going through the proper channels. Mm-hmm. We're going to petition our members of Congress, and that's what we can do. We're not going to, unfortunately, there's been violence that we've seen across the country. That's not us. We're not going to do that. There's no need for violence. What there is a need for our association to stand up and let their voices be heard. We have a membership luncheon coming in at the end of the month. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about it. Invite everybody to attend.
We'd love for everyone to attend. This is work that we've been doing for the last 6 months, working with our members of Congress. We've invited Representative Monica De La Cruz to attend and to join us. And we also are hosting, and this is a big deal for us, Mr. Sam Gilbert from the National Association of Home Builders. He is the expert in immigration reform and workforce development. So this is a big deal for us to at least have that conversation and hold our members of Congress accountable. If, they represent the people, and the people were asking for solutions or resolutions or something, and we need to be there as an association to be that bridge. Mm-hmm. We want to leave an open door for our members of Congress, and we want to be able to be that trusted resource as well. And so we've been able to do that with just in the last few months. We're excited about the Dignity Act. I go back to that because I think that is a long-term solution. Mm-hmm.
What are the chances that it'll be carried, into law?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a gambling man. I'm not a betting man. But I can tell you this, that we are going to continue to push and push that and until our National Association maybe has something else that comes up, maybe another bill is introduced temporarily, then we'll get behind that. But right now, we need a permanent solution.
And so if this trend continues, right, for another year, 2, 3 years, where does that leave the Rio Grande Valley when it comes to construction?
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of asking you to have a little, crystal ball here, but
that's a really good question. Where does that leave everybody? If I don't like to go to the extreme usually, mm-hmm. but if you don't have food on the table, that could be a problem already in itself. If you don't have homes for people to move into, which thankfully we have some.
We have some inventory.
We run out of homes. We stop that inflow of people moving to the region. Mm-hmm. And so you'll see, and I can't say that's going to happen in 3 years, but let's just say 10 years down the line. Industry dries up. If there's nobody moving here and the economy's depressed already, I don't want to go to there. Mm-hmm. I'd rather deal with it now. This is where we live now. We live in the here and now. We don't live in 30 years from now. But the decisions we make today will affect us in 30 years. Mm-hmm. I wish we were having this conversation 40 years ago in having the Dignity Act of something of this nature. With all the technology we have, I joke sometimes. I say, Amazon figured it out. Chick-fil-A figures it out to mm-hmm. get people in and out and get you what you want, and that's business, right? That's for profit. The government should work the same way. That's for us. That's for the people. And, we don't work for the government. They work for us. So we have that power to petition our government. And thankfully so, we have members of Congress here that have opened their doors to us that we're excited to work with.
Mm-hmm. And Congresswoman De La Cruz, like you said, appears to be very open to listening to the construction industry,
Yeah.
so much so that it seems like she might be kind of parting ways a little bit with her party to support some of the things that we're calling for.
Well, I mean, the Dignity Act is bipartisan. It's Republicans and Democrats coming together to promote this legislation that is going to benefit everyone. Now, here's another thing. The Dignity Act is not going to cost taxpayers anything. It's going to be funded by the people that are seeking to be in the program. So it's not costing us anything. I can't think of anything else right now that could be more important than to get this passed. Mm-hmm. And so, Representative De La Cruz has been a great friend of NAHB, and she signed on to the Dignity Act, and we're excited for that. We applaud her for that because she sees and she's hearing from our membership. So we're excited to host her here in a couple of weeks, and just going to be on the 28th of January. Mm-hmm. And we're excited to have that conversation. And we're going to have a focused conversation on solutions. That's what we want. We want solutions.
And so where can people find more information about this event? Where can they sign up?
Yeah, for sure. RGVBA.org. That's RGVBA.org. You can go there. You can give me a call also on the office line, 956-686-2932. And we'd love to host you all. If you all are either a member or non-member, we'd love to host you. We do love to have our members join us, so members first, but if you're interested in joining our membership, if you're out there and you want to join our membership, you can go to the same phone number, same website, and we'll be happy to talk to you about the benefits.
Perfect. All right, anything else that you would like to add that maybe I didn't ask you?
Oh, we went through a lot.
Feel free.
We went through a lot. I just really appreciate the time, and thank you for doing this. This is very important to us, to the construction industry. And we're just excited to be able to be a part of this that could potentially be historic legislation. And we were there on the ground in D.C. and sharing it with our representatives as it was happening. So this is a big deal for me, full circle, 20 years ago when I was just a young man getting into the business, now being able to be a part of the change that we hope to see here soon. Really appreciate this opportunity to share that.
Of course. Now, thank you so much for sharing all of that with our audience. And for those of you at home or at work, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.